Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayake made a startling revelation today that the real national debt burden is estimated to be 9.6 trillion rupees, albeit with contingent liabilities. The minister was speaking at a breakfast meeting organized by AmCham Sri Lanka, or the American Chamber of Commerce in Sri Lanka.
The breakfast meeting was held under the theme Sri Lanka, the Way Forward in Colombo this morning. The meeting saw the participation of several cabinet ministers, politicians, diplomats and representatives of the business community.
We basically inherited an economy which had a 7.9 trillion debt. That was what we thought. But today, with contingent liabilities, we have a debt of around 9.6 trillion. We basically thought that FDIs were sufficient enough, but now we find that it was only government-oriented investments that were being brought in, and as a result, clouding out the monies that can be given to the private sector and putting a lot of pressure on the economy.
The interactive session held following the minister's address was moderated by Shami Rasul-Deen, Director of English News at Newsfirst. During the session, questions were posed to Health Minister Dr. Ajitha Sena-Ratna on the much-awaited National Drug Policy.
So I am bringing on the phone the new Drug Policy Act, which will make a revolution in the health sector, because to prescribe all the drugs by generic name. So both of these, actually those are the main two things in the international policy. So once I draft and finalize, I will discuss with the cabinet, my colleagues, and then I will come to you.
Also speaking during the interactive session, Professor Rajiva Vijay Singha, the leader of the Liberal Party who had recently submitted his resignation as State Minister of Higher Education, highlighted the importance of electoral reform.
I have two very simple principles. This whole country would be correct if we change the electoral system and if we reduce the size of the cabinet to 25, which was what was pledged. And although I very much appreciate the fact that there may be a national government, I still think you need to have 25, because otherwise you have all the dead wood. And there's no way of saying no to the dead wood, because they are old men, very keen to render some sort of service to their families, if not their countries. But if you had a principle, it was much easier to say no.
State Minister of Defence Ruwan Wijewardena was grilled on the floating armoury in Galle, which had been the subject of much controversy in the recent past.
From what we see is that they have been issued all the right licenses by the previous regime. So what the problem is, well, they're operating legit in that case. So we have to go and look into who actually gave these licenses. So this has now turned the investigation towards the Lanka, which is a private company which is owned by the government, which was owned by the government, by the Ministry of Defence actually. So we have to actually conduct an audit now to see exactly how the foreign exchange that was coming in to the country, was it going towards the private company, or what was the basis of the profit sharing and everything.
In his vote of thanks, Nimal Cook, Director and Secretary at AmCham Sri Lanka, provided a fresh observation on the floating armoury controversy.
To Honourable Ruwan Wijewardena, thank you for explaining that floating armoury episode, but I think the main question is not the legality of it, but why was there no competition? Perhaps you should answer that question and go forward on that basis. I agree that the country must benefit in doing this kind of business, because it is a pregnant problem in that part of the world. But I would encourage competition and give the private sector a chance, not just one company.
Questions were also posed at this event regarding the government's taxation policy.
About the current taxation policy of your regime, it seems a little arbitrary. You're talking about these one-off taxes. Don't these one-off taxes set a bad precedent? Wouldn't governments to follow also following that precedent?
Many of the areas there were certain assets of the country were given based on nothing. Spectrum were used without any charges that were there. So we only rectified that particular one, and it was just one-off, made one-off, rather than being permanent. So that's the reason why we collected about 90 billion. So I guess you could basically ensure that we can easily get 100 to 150 billion without any hassle, without taxing anymore.